I have no words. I literally have no words. Um, w- I missed the first half. I woke up for the second half and I saw the score, um, and I was like, okay, this is, I'm just going to coast it in. I'm going to enjoy the second half. And then it all just turned on its head, and it was relentless football. Relentless football. Um, Technical, tactical, emotional, phenomenal. I know I just said I have no words, but those are the words that I would use to describe just the portion that I saw. And then from what I'm hearing, the first half was just unreal from an Argentinian perspective, of course. Um, but wow, wow. I mean, this I have so much to say, and I'll have some some of my friends, Zen perhaps, join in as well, to share something about this moment in the history of the sport and the history of just human history in general. This is a very significant moment, and I know people will just dumb it down and play it down, but this is what our ancestors felt when they saw Pele, when they saw. But even then, I don't think they kind of like knew what they were watching. Then we knew what we were witnessing um, today. So the stakes and the meaning behind it was far too much for anyone in our human history to fathom. So, um, and here's me just I'm just watching the crowning, the official crowning of Leo Messi. They have this Arabic garb on him right now, officially wearing that Arabic, sporting that Arabic garb right before he lifts the World Cup, which is again, Qatar has done unbelievable in terms of how they've promoted their own culture, and it's beautiful. So now he's wearing that garb over over his jersey, and he's about to lift the World Cup, and he's going to walk over to his teammates to lift it. Now they're kind of like planning it. I know I'm kind of commentating on as it's happening, um, but it's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. Um, Let me just turn it up a little bit, if you don't mind.
You were thinking it. You didn't want to say it. I agree. Just let me say it. Okay, so at this moment right now, I'm going to pass it over to Leo Messi and his celebrations here in the stadium. We'll come back and join
Please,
you right
thank
after
you.
this is done.
Please come in the middle. Make this beautiful. Make this iconic, Leo. Come on. Come on. Oh, wow. Goosebumps, man. I I know it's pathetic. I have no stakes in this game. I have no stakes in both teams. I have no stakes, personal stakes in anything. Um, um, but here I am. I'm feeling overwhelmed with emotions. I'm feeling just generally overwhelmed, and that's why I wanted to quickly set up this stream um, uh, and talk about how I'm feeling right now. And um, but there are a few things I really wanted to talk about generally. Um, just about this World Cup. Anyway, I was gonna do it like a review of the World Cup anyway, and I had uh, um, another podcast lined up to go out tomorrow, which obviously won't, or today when you're watching this, it didn't. Um, and um, um, you know, my brother's in Qatar right now, uh, taking it in, taking the moment in. But this is such a beautiful, beautiful uh, moment I experienced, um, and I'm a sucker for these kind of things, the emotions, the meaning, the stage, and even to an extent the heartbreak, which I was kind of like partially ready for. I was not expecting Argentina to win today. And, as it is the case with such stories, like these are cruel stories at times, like Zidane in 2006. It doesn't really end gloriously. It's not like a movie. So I wasn't expecting much um, from this. And then, you know, I woke up 2-0 up Argentina, and I'm like, this is unbelievable. I'm in paradise. This can't be happening. And then I see the stats, and I hear the commentator talking about how France were like you know, outsmarted and outnumbered and out overpowered in the first half, and I'm like, wow, this is really happening. It's a dominant Argentinian performance in the final of a fucking World Cup. Um, you know, um, and um, then Mbappe happened. Um, and it was. I've got to admit, I was pissed. I was pissed as fuck of Mbappe, kind of like trying to ruin this moment for Messi. And I was like, there's no way Messi comes back from this, because it was just, I was just texting some of my friends during the game, and they were like, oh, it's 2-1 still, 10 minutes to go. Clearly, you know, don't watch the game as much, and it's fine, because it's a common mistake people make um, when they watch this game. 2-1 is easily, might as well be 2-2. Very rarely do you get to a game, especially in finals and crunch games. If a team is 2-0 up, they want to kill the game, they want to score the extra goal. They're never safe at 2-0. They're hardly safe at 1-0. So that one goal difference is always just very edgy, nervous. So when France scored that first one, and the momentum shifted, as it does so many times, um, and then that fucking ridiculous Mbappe's volley goes in, and I'm like, okay, this is it. Game well and truly over, I think. But um, um, but it wasn't. I mean, it goes to extra. I was thinking, honestly, in my head, I was like, because the momentum was so much with France. My opinion was, Argentina has to conjure up a winner in the last 10 minutes, or whatever it was, last 5 minutes, to really avoid getting blown away by this French side, because they're too good, or Mbappe is too good. The remaining side is pretty young still. And we'll get to the point about France and how they will probably make more finals down the line as well. I'll be very surprised if they don't, with this amazingly talented team that they have. Um, what was I saying? I completely lost my track of thought. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah. So I was saying that Argentina has to score now, otherwise, if it goes to extra time, more time, um, Argentina gets, France gets to play, the more time i- they'll have to score. And surprisingly, the the extra time was very balanced. I mean, the first half clearly went to Argentina with their two really, really big chances. Um, and then the second half was crazy. I mean, right at the end, Emiliano Martinez makes a worldie of a save, and I have a very special guest joining me for this one, for the remaining part of the discussion. Um, he's uh, he's the first one on the podcast from where the kind of like my two worlds collide. The this podcast world and my professional world. Um, and I couldn't have asked for a better one because he's again just like me, a football fan, but also more importantly a Liverpool fan. With me, I have Ishaan. Hey brother, how's it going? I can
Doing.
hear you actually. Oh, there you
Oh,
go.
you can't hear
There
me?
you go.
Okay, great.
No, I can hear you now.
Perfect.
How are we feeling, man?
Okay,
How are we
good, good.
feeling?
The feeling is rated right now. Really happy to see Messi win the World Cup. Um, you know, and just being
were
the
you
true
at the
leader
pub?
as
Were you at the pub watching the game?
came from the apartment itself because we we forgot to get up and join our friends at the
Okay.
pub. So yeah.
Okay, so you're doing
Um,
that. I mean, honestly, for me, when I'm so emotionally invested in games, it's very difficult for me to go and watch it with a crowd or even with friends because not everyone is as emotionally invested in those games as I am. Especially Liverpool games, Liverpool finals. I like to be in the comfort of my own couch and alone with my thoughts. Maybe another Liverpool fan joining me, that's fine. But I avoid kind of like making a big deal out of it because I don't have good experiences with that. Anytime I've made a big deal out of a game, especially cricket games, my team has lost. So I've kind of moved on from like making a big deal out of it. That's why I was like, I'm happy staying at home watching this game. Although, I was just, before you joined in, I was just talking and I was thinking like, I shouldn't be this invested in this game. I should not have anything to do with these two sides and even to the sport. I mean, the part of the world that we come from, this is not the prevalent sport, but here we are, here I am kind of like losing my shit, thinking like being as nervous as probably the Argentinians were in the stadium or around the world, or the French were. um but yeah, it's just unbelievable. I mean, did you catch the first half? I didn't get the first half. I started
so
watching the second
yeah,
half because it was
I
too early
started
for me.
the I started watching the game. So since I moved to Texas, Central Time is the best time
Yeah.
to catch up. I started watching the game from the second minute, and the first half was pretty much it was all Argentina, right? I think
Yeah.
I was Messi is going to get his World Cup victory. Is
Hmm.
And the best part about the World Cup was he was never, in a ways as a player he was all team scored goals in all the knockout games. So and has a
Assisted,
brace today
assisted
as
as well. Like he was.
yeah, a lot of assists, important brace. This was his occasion, and then suddenly I think we were talking on text, and I just grabbed a meme from Twitter and posted,
I saw that.
like, and guess what? After 2 minutes, we had a brace from Mbappe, which was like super interesting. This entirely this World Cup journey has been super for me. I just to enjoy the game and scout for players that Liverpool
Yeah.
can
You were
sign.
kind of. I know. I know. Yeah, and Enzo being the young player of the year, by the young player of the tournament in the World Cup.
Yep.
I mean, if there ever was a time for us to snap him up, is now, because now after this his stock will rise ridiculously.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we missed out on so many. Just talking about Liverpool here for a quick moment,
Yeah.
but um, if we are able to snap Enzo, that's the new and I'm super excited to have someone like Enzo and Bellingham join the ranks of Liverpool midfield. Um, Personally, I
Yeah.
think Enzo, I mean, the work rate he has shown in this tournament has been immense. Something that Henderson has been showing around. So
Hmm.
should be a good signing for us. I mean, but
Yeah, but that's Liverpool, and we'll probably have another podcast to talk about that.
yeah,
And that was the original intention. Today, I mean, like I said, I was just after the game, I was just so overwhelmed with everything, overwhelmed with
Absolutely.
feelings of relief and elation. I was like, okay, and I was just mentioning I had another episode lined up to release tomorrow, but I was like, oh, you can't. I have to talk about the World Cup now because it's I have so
It's
much
fresh.
so many feelings that I needed to express and needed to
Absolutely.
really go through. But generally speaking of the game, um, so my feeling when France scored the first one, it was 78 minutes, I think 78, 79 minutes, and I was just on another group text with
Hmm.
some of my friends, and they were like, and I was like, oh fuck, Mbappe scored from the penalty. This
Yeah.
can't be good. And they're like, it's still 2-1 and 10 minutes to go. Why are you worried? And obviously, as you can guess, they don't watch the game
Hmm.
as much as I do. So I was like, are you kidding me? 2-1 in a crunch game in football is might as well be 2-2 now because momentum is such a big thing, and as it did, 2 minutes later Mbappe scored, and I was like, told you so. And so easily from that 2-2, it could have easily gone to like 3-2 and 4-2 easily. And we've seen that happen so many times, especially with the Man City sides that we've like come against. Going back to our Liverpool
Right.
discussion, we've kind of like I've experienced the heartbreak of those like 3 goals in 5 minutes stuff, like bullshit that Man City does. So I was kind of like, expecting almost to have that happen. I was like, this can't be happening. I expected a
Hmm.
messy heartbreak in the final because my head was like, this would be too unrealistic and too perfect for Messi to finish like this, right? But and then when this
Right.
happened, I was like, okay, this is gonna be like a dagger in your heart when and it's someone like twisting it, with Mbappe obviously like going nuts towards the end of the game. So I was just thinking, I was talking to my friend, and he said that, oh, Argentina needs to drag this to the extra time. And I was like, honestly, if Argentina stands a chance, they need to win right now. Otherwise, extra time means more time to France to score, essentially. And to my surprise, the opposite happened. Argentina was very decent in the extra time. They actually had the better chances,
Right.
apart from that Emiliano Martinez kind of like saving like a worldly save in the like towards the end, and then Lautaro Martinez missing at the other end, like two Martinez in like a space of 30 seconds. That was just weird. But generally, I thought Argentina put a really strong account of themselves.
Yep. I would agree. And this was in contrast to games, or the game against Argentina, where they were holding back to a 2-0 lead, and here they just tried something different, gave away the lead, which they
Yeah.
fans did not deserve it. Personally, given the way the game was flowing in, uh, I think few minutes before the penalty, I think that's when Mbappe got was not even on target. Actually, he skyrocketed that shot, but still, that was the first shot. I think in the 77th minute of the game, and I was really
Hmm.
shocked. That's where Mbappe's genius or his game management lies in. Like, gets two quick fire goals, and that got me really excited. And I think point, I think Argentina was amazing. They came out attacking. Even France would have not expected that.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I think the point this World Cup is tailor made for Messi was when he actually scored the third goal for Argentina,
Oh yeah. That was.
and I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
this has to be it. I mean, now
I was like, this
I
is
don't
it, man. I
need
mean,
any.
and I was literally begging. I was literally begging, yeah, please hold on. Please 10 minute
Yes.
defend kar le. And I thought that was a freakish penalty to give away, honestly. That was not their defensive fault. And their defense has been like unbelievable. Like the Argentinian
Oh
defense.
yeah.
They've like thrown their bodies on the line. And been really, very aggressive at the same time, very calculated as well. I mean, they know what they were doing. They're not just like randomly just, throwing their bodies all over the place. They had a strategy. They had, an understanding of how to contain themselves. They were organized at the back. They weren't rash and irrational, running around all over the place. Um, which is why I was hoping that they would hold on for the last 10 minutes, I think it was, or 9 minutes when Messi scored. At first, I thought that was kind of like offside because the referee kind of like very gingerly gave the goal sign. I was like, okay, this is offside, but I was like, why are they still celebrating? And then even the commentator was like confused, and then then the commentator realized that it's actually a goal, and I was like, oh my god, this can't be happening. Messi scores in the extra time of the final of the World Cup. This is unbelievable. This is like Bollywood movies type stuff. So um,
Yeah,
and then obviously,
completely.
Mbappe has to come up and score his hat trick, in the final 2 minutes of the game. But
Right. And
how did you went through how did you uh, experience the last 2 minutes where it was kind of end to end and these massive chances were coming both teams' way?
oh yeah, I think I was just wondering, if I was talking to a friend as well, and I think we just discussed 3-3, and then I was just texting my friend that I am having a feeling that if this goes to penalties, Argentina is going to win because they have a
Hmm.
good shot stopper in Emi
Oh,
Martinez and
yeah.
penalties. So, and I think that one chance where Emi Martinez, I think he saved a shot, and which was a critical save. I think tournament, and
Mm.
I think
Oh, the last one,
that
right?
that yeah, the last one. I think I could not imagine how you just Konate had Konate. So it was end to end. I mean, there was a tackle there, and then uh, when I think there was, I just don't remember as to it was. I think it was the second half, and saved
Mm.
the game for them, and then it was then Messi had a curler right, which was blocked by Varane. It was
Was this?
all. I mean, you
Actually, it was
didn't
just
have a
like a.
yeah.
I think he just put his foot through it, and I honestly thought if he had curled it in, he might have just like accuracy शायद उसकी बेहतर होती उस वक्त. But he kind of like went for power, and I was surprised
Correct.
French defense were kind of like holding back, allowing him to shoot. I was like, are you kidding me? This guy is already out of legs. He has the legs to shoot for sure. Why are you giving him space to shoot? But they gave him space to shoot, and obviously, was a decent save from Hugo Lloris. Um, but then, yeah, did you remember that pass from Messi towards the end of the first half of the extra time? This when he releases Martinez on the left flank, and
Oh
then
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, I think फिर उसके बाद भी they kind of like there was a chance that was missed towards the end of the first half. But that was Messi, in a nutshell in this World Cup, like linking up, being like an effective number 10, but then also turning it up when needed, like throughout the tournament. Um, I don't know how, like
Yep.
he kept getting goals, he kept getting assists despite everything. Um, but yeah, this was such a moment in history that like we'll tell our kids about. Like we hear about the greatness of Pele and we hear
Absolutely.
about the greatness of Maradona. And here's why I feel like this is different from that. You can bring in the numbers, you can bring in the stats of like who scored many goals, or Pele won 2 World Cups and blah 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 and all that.
Mm.
But the thing is, when that was happening, they there wasn't a moment created around it like it was today, right? For example, Argentina didn't go into that World Cup in '84 or '86 when they won it. Um, or it wasn't about like Maradona has to win this World Cup to be the greatest player in the world. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like a narrative
Yep,
that was built around.
that is correct.
Or when Pele went into one of the two, or either of those 2 World Cups that he won, it wasn't like Pele has to win this World Cup to really prove that he's the best player in the world ever. It just happened. It just happened. There was no kind of like pressure outside, external pressure riding on them. Messi had to deal with that along with all the normal pressures that Maradona and Pele were going through or feeling at the time, like the weight of the country on their
Right.
shoulders, expectation, all of that. Um, and then this now multiply by basically 1,000 when you take social media and normal media like into consideration when there's so much like going on like back, and then you have Ronaldo as this other rival that you have for this for this crown that you're like apparently going for. So this whole narrative, the whole the whole moment that was building, this has to count for something because it can't be just like a, you know, a fruitless thing that or media hype kind of building. It was legitimate. So for Messi to come through that, it was um I think that's why this
Yeah.
ranks to me, as one of, if not the greatest sporting moments in the history of human sports.
Yep. I would agree. I would definitely that the media has now, and in fact, it's the social media is open to everyone. So you have fans from both the ends, talking all the stuff. There's this good stuff. Bad. We really don't get to know what's would have been in Messi's mind, how he has been doing things,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, kudos to him. I think he deserved it, but Argentinian squad, I think I was really not convinced with them in the group stages when they actually lost the first game, and that was like the
Yeah.
most surprising thing to me, where they were unbeaten, like the worst
For like
seeded
two
team in
years or something.
the yeah, I think, and like a low seeded team in the World Cup, and
Yeah. Yeah.
they basically
The only team
grew
to have
from there.
beaten Argentina.
Yeah, and I think um, Saudi Arabia played their game well as well, but like with Argentina, what I have seen is they had these 35 game run disguised to them, and that really forced the coach, I think, to make some more tactical changes. And I think the later half of, if you uh, the way Messi was more on I think for the Saudi Arabia game, I think Messi started as uh, a center forward with Lautaro Martinez,
Hmm. Yeah.
a number 10 role for Messi, where he just goes back. So he's still paired with Alvarez, but the way he has been doing is he just hovers around, holds back the line, and I think what I thought Messi did well in the knockouts was he was also holding back toward, and he was holding back closer towards the number 6. That's what is Shumeni,
Yeah.
and that that basically uh, is a problem for any opponent team. So Messi has been immense, and this shape was pretty similar to what Marco Bielsa had as his
Hmm.
tactical
Yeah.
file. So I think and that is immense. I mean, you have Enzo Fernandez, who was never in the playing 11. He made himself his place, like in the starting 11, and then I think the other player, yeah, yeah, the Man City striker,
McAllister, man.
yeah, yeah, McAllister
McAllister
for
also,
sure.
Man City, Alvarez, and McAllister. I think these
Yes,
three, four
so
people were like insane.
3 people, yeah, they were बढ़िया खेले वो लोग. मतलब Alvarez has been like a star. I think
Oh yeah,
he was great. He was great in this tournament. I mean, Man City
unbelievable.
has got
Like Man City are
Mega
sorted for
Strike
the
Gold
next
again.
like 10, 15 years now.
Absolutely. यार
Because
Alvarez के
Haaland
age
is
में तो
already like
उनको
young.
correct. I mean, you're accurate. Like everyone is accurate about Haaland, but definitely Alvarez will be someone when Haaland has his own aspirations, and when he leaves City to do something big, I'm sure Alvarez is going to come to the stage, and he's just going to do what Aguero is, and is
Hmm.
pretty good.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Or I think, I mean, even or it could be the other way around. Alvarez would be like, you know what, f this. I want to be the center stage now. I'm ready, right? And he
Absolutely.
could end up leaving because Man City can't. They can't play both of them, unfortunately or fortunately, because they just have too strong a number 9 in Haaland right now. So
Yeah.
it makes sense. It's kind of like being that he, it- being De Bruyne in that Chelsea midfield. When he was at you know
Oh,
he was there. So it was just
absolutely.
unfortunate that the start couldn't align for him. So probably that would might be the case for Alvarez, but I think he's gonna still hang around because in Pep Guardiola he has one of the best coaches in the world, and why not just
Yeah.
just play and up your game and I mean, now you're a World Cup winner. I mean, what else do you need, right?
Yeah, you have the most prominent medal in your in your catalog now. So I think that's the best thing, right? But yeah, you're right about Alvarez. Performs well. I'm sure
Mm.
Real Madrid are gonna chase him at some point. These
Oh yeah.
all big teams are gonna come behind him. Real Madrid would definitely need someone more injury prone as ever. So yeah,
Hmm.
I mean anything can happen in this. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to see how the transfer market shapes up. Have their stocks up.
I'm just wondering, how do Emiliano Martinez, Alexis McAllister walk back to Aston Villa and Brighton, Albion and Hove, respectively? Um, how does that work out for them? I'm pretty sure in both of these clubs' history, they've never had a player come back who's a World Cup winner.
Right.
I would be very surprised as that if that has happened before. I don't think
Yeah, I've
so,
seen that
right?
too. I mean, yeah, that is true. That is true. I mean, every time
I mean, Spurs maybe with Hugo Lloris coming back as a World Cup winner might
he
rank up
has to,
right up there,
right? I mean,
but
I think yeah, Spurs. But it's always different, right? I think, and I think the same would be Martinez. I think one of the reasons why I would say is again I'm not discussing numbers here, but he, apart if you take this, he had one great save today, but he has been highly inconsistent. I think that's one of the reasons why
Mhm.
Arsenal also got rid of him. He has shown that inconsistency during his when I think he's good. He's been good for Argentina, but he's not been as good as it is for the clubs. So I think when you are playing for a club, but the consistency matters. I think or
Yeah,
even
it's week in week out. Yeah, it's kind
yeah
of like
even
Mertesacker
Hugo
for
Lloris.
Arsenal.
Correct. Yeah, that's the exact example you can come for Germany and trash for Arsenal. And I think that
Yeah.
reminds me of another player that Arsenal signed was Lucas Podolski, right? I mean,
Oh yeah, there you
a
go.
legend
That's
for
another one.
Germany. And it's been always that way. So with Emi Martinez, I don't know how it's gonna be, but I'm sure that McAllister is gonna get a lot of attention, and I'm sure he if but it depends on how that works.
Yeah. Let's talk about France as well. I mean, uh, we have
Yeah,
to bring them up to the discussion. Very unlucky with injuries before the World Cup as they were going in. They have a super young midfield and a very you know inspiring midfield. You have Chumani, kind of like coming into his own now. And having seen him play internationally, I think he's definitely a star. And then you have Mbappe, who's just 24, two World Cups, two finals, one World Cup.
two hat
You
tricks.
know, exactly right. So he's definitely has like at least 2 to 3 World Cups more left in him. So and then
Absolutely.
this young side, and then I know Varane probably won't play, so obviously our boy Ibu might would definitely walk into that back four. So again, another young player who's 22, 23 or something. Um, this is a very, very promising French side. And not big. I mean, we say that about like big sides that this is a promising young side, but I'm more surprised because we've said this about France for the last 6 years or whatever. Like they seem to still have a very young side. Weirdly, they're not getting old.
That's true. I mean, I think that's it. And I think one key points with what I have seen with the that keeps coming, right? I mean, the squad depth that they have is immense. I mean, even if too many gets injured tomorrow, I know he's integral, but you have Fofanas, you have. I mean, he had an average season playing at Juventus,
Mm.
but then when you have him in the World Cup, and I was really to be honest, what I have been seeing people commenting on the France national team's performance in the Nations League. They got booted out of the UEFA Nations League. They were not even playing. The occasion came in. They all came in together, joined hands, and played super well. I think one thing that I have seen with players who are aged 20 or above, but the mentality that they have is of a mature 33-year-old. I think that's what I've seen. I mean, Chumani rising to the good, or how good Camavinga was. Playing out of position.
Unbelievable, yeah.
And then you have our boy, like as you said, Konate. You call him up for an injured Varane, and comes in straight at the very first minute, tackles Messi, clears everything, lobs in, create a goal score. These are going to transition in a very good future. I think one thing that France, I'm not sure about this when you compare them with Hugo Lloris, but I have never been a fan of Hugo Lloris. I always thought this is that one goalkeeper who will always have that one mistake in what if you go back to the last World Cup, he pretty much bought the game. It was always a France game in general, but yeah, he gifted one goal to Croatia and got all fan of Lloris. But otherwise, this French team, यार मतलब इनके पास इतने replacements है that you just are they have so हो गया कोई this Pavard. Okay, Pavard is injured. Okay, let's play Ibu, Konate there. I mean, what not?
I think they just have hit the lottery in terms of like talents right now, and all also interestingly African of African origin. So it's just unbelievable how that French side is so relentless. That's why I was like, this is too good, and I think this might be a good time for Deschamps to kind of like or France national team to kind of reset from a coaching standpoint, because I think Deschamps has done enough. I think he's not like criticism of him. I think he's done enough with this group. He's won them a World Cup. He's got them to another final. He's just he's been very good. He's brought the side up really well. But I think it's time for fresh ideas. It's time for France football with this new squad, kind of like new up and coming players, kind of move on from the previous regime, so to speak. But generally, I mean, this bolo.
I'm taking a lot of time away from this topic, but today, also heard that Southgate is continuing to be the manager of England, and I also think at the same time where that you have been playing the same thing again. I mean, yes, you can get a new opportunity, but there has to be some switch there, and I think England's gonna suffer if they still continue with Southgate. I don't see them, and they have been a good bunch this World Cup. To be honest, this World Cup was a surprise for me to see England play well in the first place.
Play well, yeah.
But
play well and lose, because it's always like बस गंदी तरह खेलते हैं, हार जाते हैं.
Yeah, this time they were brave enough against France, but they still and that's again coming. We talked about the people who have been immense for France. The youngsters have been driving it, and then few mentions for like he's been great with his older play right in the front. I think he didn't click well today. I think because Otamendi had him covered, and yeah, uske baad space Mbappe is gonna do. But and same goes for Griezmann. I mean, Griezmann at his, I think he's still touching 30s, but yeah, he's been a veteran now for the French. The cross.
He is a veteran now. Yeah.
I think the cross he provided, which was the winning goal, right? for France
Right.
against England. That was, I mean, I don't even remember who
Oh
scored
yeah.
the goal. It was the perfect banana. Like वो जैसे
हाँ.
Trent Alexander-Arnold जो डालता है right side से. It was
Right, right, right,
like a similar
right.
thing. This World Cup has been full of surprises, I think, and that's where my next question is for you is, like, apart from these two teams, like Argentina, France, well deserved finals in the World Cup.
Apart from team, like apart from these two, who I want to mention?
Yeah, and I who always had Argentina as our option. We always discussed it, but did you
Yeah.
expect Brazil in a final, or did you expect
Brazil.
like England?
I think, yeah. I honestly thought that Brazil are going to go further than they did. They were very unlucky to go out the way they did, um, because I really genuinely thought this was their time. And had they qualified against Croatia, I think they would have beaten Argentina because they would have been too good and too relentless. Um, so Brazil was definitely one that I was. And to be honest, um, England weren't really bad. I think England again are just missing that winning mentality, someone who's done it, right? So that's why I feel like having Southgate retain until his contract expires doesn't make sense to me, because I know I understand where FA is coming from, because they're kind of like thinking a progression. They're thinking, okay, this guy did the semifinals of the World Cup,
Did
finals
the
of the Euro,
quarters?
quarterfinals of the quarters of the World Cup. So they're kind of seeing like a trend. Ki, chalo, theek hai, one more push, and let's see. I think we can break the seal here, and perhaps have England win something. But I think in those moments against France, for example, when they were dominating, you need that winning. You need someone who's done it, right? Who's done it in the past, who basically drags you through those moments, like Mbappe did for France.
Yeah,
They kind of like drags you through those moments. So England and Brazil, I felt like were definitely, and I thought um, uh, the Dutch did put a really good account of themselves. The Van Dijk was really good. It's good to see him play well for a change. In the past 6 months, he's been awful. So that was, I think, I thought they should have gone further. Um, Spain, I was really disappointed in, because they also France had a very promising bunch and a very young bunch of players who've been
right.
like setting the world stage alight in the past 6 months, or 8 to 12 months or something. Um, um, and especially how they started with their 7-0 victory against Costa Rica. So I thought, okay, this is going to be one of those World Cups where Spain kind of comes into their own, you know. But for
Right.
them to kind of like bottle it so quickly, that was disappointing. But yeah, those three teams, I was kind of like, hoping to see further down the line. I honestly just my head was solely focused on Argentina winning this one, because I knew the moment that was being
Right.
created, and I knew what this meant from for this whole discussion around who's the greatest player of all time. Um, um, so yeah, I think those definitely. But as far as like um, I mean, even like I was thinking about the best game of the World Cup. I can't think beyond the final actually. Like final was definitely the
Yeah.
best game of the World Cup, if not the best game ever.
Yep. 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 I completely agree. And I think this was, I think, the greatest final I have ever witnessed, and definitely we were not a part of the World Cups that happened aired to that extent in
And
all
we've
the
seen
countries,
Istanbul.
right?
We've seen Istanbul, and I think this ranks slightly better than Istanbul. Istanbul was one of
Yeah.
the greatest finals ever. The Champions League Istanbul final in 2005.
Yep.
But this had, again, this had everything. It had two sides. In the '05 final, at the very least, you had like one underdog and one massive superpower, and then underdog kind of like holding for its dear life in the extra time. I
Yep.
remember, we were just
Absolutely.
holding on to everything. begging for it to go to the penalty so that Jersey Duda could save our asses. But but this one was like, although it did feel like ऐसा लग रहा था कि France will just be too smart, strong and smart for them, but Argentina were like butting against them, against this young side with like flamboyant and sexy football and this massive potential
Right.
versus a bunch of like hardworking, you know, running to the ground type players who are not. And I was just sharing this with my brother. I think what really made this beautiful and why I got emotional when that final kick went in is all of these players, Argentinian players, they know for sure that after this World Cup final, no one will remember them. Most of them, half of these players will be forever
Mm-hmm.
nameless.
Yep.
Okay, but and for them to really sacrifice themselves for who? For Messi. To basically they idolized this guy, and this was a thing, right before the World Cup. It was like everyone was kind of noticing this, that कि पिच पे कोई मेसी से फड्डा ना ले, क्योंकि पूरी टीम आ जाती थी उस अगले बंदे से लड़ने,
Right.
क्योंकि मेसी को किसी ने धक्का दिया ना, पूरा टीम कुत्तों की तरह आ जाती थी कि ओए हाउ डिड यू टच आवर बॉय, राइट? So they were like so protective of Messi, carrying him through his difficulties and age, because he's carried them through when that team kind of sucked in the last few World Cups. Um, and then knowing कि यार I'm gonna put my name on the line, knowing कि after this, even if I win and if I score I mean, do we remember who scored the winning penalty? I'm just happened. I don't remember. It just literally happened.
I think, yeah, Montiel. Yeah, we don't have
Montiel, right?
lower tier league at all.
हाँ,
Yeah.
तो तुम्हें अगले साल पूछूंगा तुमसे तुमसे मैं एक दो हफ्ते बाद पूछूंगा, तुम भूल चुके होगे. This would have been old memory and
Yeah,
you would have been like, who
definitely.
cares, right? Like for them, all of these players to put their names on the line and their careers on the line just so that this one man can have his moment in glory, I think that was beautiful. That's the most beautiful part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like this was one of the greatest games to be to ever play to be ever played, and no less than a World Cup final.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think like every squad member was going after, like, when there was a fight. I think there was one big fight when during the Dutch
Mhm.
game, the game with
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
passion comes in, and I think one, since we're talking about players, I mean, Joe, we don't even remember those players. I think one guy who again will completely go unknown to really highlight the contribution of Rodrigo de Paul. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
he has been tireless behind Messi. He has been the,
Oof.
like,
Oof.
day. I would say, यार ये मतलब ये बंदा firewall है Messi के लिए. He was always protective. So that gave Messi the most amount of freedom to get the best
To
out
conserve himself
there.
is the most importantly.
Yeah,
Okay,
he
he's
was the
36. He
legs
can't,
for
huh?
Messi, right? Like, yeah.
Oh yeah, he was
सबसे
defending for
player वही
himself
था,
and another
मतलब
guy.
deep, because if you look at, and this is again me coming back to the numbers, because I think you gave me some time to just look it up, like, before you were joining
Uh-huh.
before I was joining this call, and I could deep all, यार मतलब I was thinking कि बंदे का fitness level क्या होगा. Every game he's 12 to 15 kilometers. 12 to 15
Wow.
is, that's one of the reasons why Messi gets 10 kilometers. He was 5 kilometers less to Rodrigo de Paul, where Messi, he was the guy who was giving Messi the legs and the power to, uh, भाई साहब वो, I
Basically
mean, that guy,
conserve himself, huh?
yeah, I mean, he's not a great player. मतलब वो बंदा आप देखोगे बस
Huh.
स्क्वायर पास करते रहेगा, but he reminds me of, and just coming back to Liverpool, I think one unsung hero that, यार मतलब, he was the engine for a few years, where he didn't have anything
कौन
in
किसकी
him,
बात कर रहे हो?
like a pass. Oh, Lucas Leiva, like, if that we had, right?
Oh, Lucas, हाँ, Lucas, हाँ, हाँ,
Yeah,
हाँ,
बंदे के पास कुछ टैलेंट नहीं था, मतलब कुछ लॉब नहीं करेगा कुछ नहीं, बट just keeps the midfield ticking, right?
हाँ.
बट बंदे ने जो contribution किया है, like that makes him a Liverpool legend for a reason. Like, and
Absolutely.
I think that's something that I thought about um, uh, Rodrigo De Paul this tournament. Why is this guy even in the team? मतलब ये क्या कर रहा है यार? इसके जगह पे एंजो को लाओ. At least we have seen Enzo play in Champions League. So ऐसा होता है immediate situation कि just get Enzo. Not even great for that. यार मतलब the Atletico Madrid team, right? I mean बहुत
Right.
हमने इसकी बहुत ले ली थी during the Champions League game that we had. Like वो बंदा clueless था, मतलब वो साला उसको ऐसे घुमा के
Exactly.
लेके जा रहा था इधर उधर. So I was thinking that this guy is bad, but he proved me completely wrong. And then I was taken aback is Marcus Thuram. Like whenever called
Oh,
upon,
Marcus Thuram.
बंदा मतलब बहुत ही मतलब he's shit. Like he has been shit. See him play for the club and his first touch is so bad. You'll be like, अरे यार क्या मतलब? Why is not Kingsley Coman playing the game? And I think, yeah, discussing players, but what's your opinion on the penalty kicks in these competitions? Like the penalty takers. I mean, the worst I have seen in this World Cup, to be honest.
That's true. I think लेकिन इसमें एक चीज I'm convinced after this World Cup in terms of penalty taking, get your first penalty takers to be the best ones. Please stop doing this whole like fifth penalty for the last best one and romanticizing this penalty penalty shootout victories,
Absolutely.
because that does not work. How many times you have people, I mean, I'm pretty sure whoever is listening and wants interested in doing numbers, and I'm sure you are one of them, Ishan, but agar aap dekho, people who miss penalties are always right somewhere middle and towards the end of the shootout. Very rarely do you see कि पहली
Right.
penalty miss कर दी, right? क्योंकि उस वक्त कोई प्रेशर नहीं होता, आपको प्रेशर एक्चुअली बिल्डअप होना शुरू होता है when the scoreboard is there. ठीक है, तो इट्स सो इम्पोर्टेंट टू गेट समथिंग ऑन द बोर्ड, क्योंकि अगले बंदे के ऊपर फौरन प्रेशर आ जाता है कि ओके आई सम द अदर टीम हैज स्कोर्ड, नाउ आई हैव टू स्कोर. So if you send your first the I didn't understand why the Dutch did that with Van Dijk sending him the number one.
Yeah.
I get it that he was one of the penalty takers, but first one, I don't know. He's a good penalty taker, Van Dijk, and he's done it for Liverpool. Lekin, he's not the first one, right? You send your best one on the first one. Taki, it just sets the nerves, straight. Messi going, Mbappe going, pehli martaba. Calming the nerves down on everyone. Okay, bhai, theek hai, sahi hai. Now we've done it. हमारे favorite players, bade players ने हो गया. अब हम सब करेंगे आराम से. So this whole idea, I think, penalty shootout, I think generally has been like very, ridiculous, and mostly because of the fact that, they've just been trying to save the best for last. It doesn't work. It really works.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And that's about Van Dijk, right? Going first. I was in that penalty shootout. I was just looking for. I mean, the only thing I had was where the F was Frankie De Jong against Argentina. I'm like, यार मतलब ये तुम्हारा he's the guy who can set the tone for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the penalty shootouts have been good shot stoppers. I think yeah, I don't recall the name of the Croatian goalkeeper, super young, has been
I don't recall
immense.
it either, but I know he plays in Croatia for one of those teams that we get like in the not Croatia actually. I think he plays.
Yeah.
क्या नाम है यार उसका, बट उसका
Like a
नाम मुझे पता नहीं है,
Dynamo
मुझे याद है
Zagreb
जब वो
or
हाँ डायनामो ज़ाग्रेब एक्चुअली, हाँ.
yeah.
तो वो he plays for, so his name is Daniel Subasic. Subasic नहीं था, sorry,
Yeah,
Subasic तो
yeah, he
पुराना
plays
है.
for
Uh,
Liverpool. Yes. Yeah, and I think
yeah.
that's the other point of and I think the biggest surprise how good, like how good and sustainable were were Croatia. Like never expected. I'm sure no one expected them to be like like as a
Mm,
runner-up they did great. Um, they were still they
yeah.
made it till the semifinals, and it was
Hmm.
like a
Out
shocker.
of
And I think
nowhere as well. Like
that
jab
that's
Neymar scored that goal in extra time, I was like, this is
absolutely
it, game over. Thank you very much. But then for them to kind of come back, and I was like, unbelievable. Is this really happening?
yeah. And I completely was Cup also was full of surprises. I mean, like you talked about Spain. The other thing that people were touting to be
Hmm.
like a big team or uh, more of a dark horse kind of a team, just superiorly bad this World Cup. People expected a lot of
Hmm.
good things from Denmark, but they couldn't live up to the expectations.
True.
Brazil, I was again, but penalties है तो ठीक है. I mean, they'll come back
Mm.
stronger next year.
Do you think
But yeah,
Neymar's it
Denmark
will
and Spain
be
were
kind of
the
like Neymar's turn to be, kind of like played up like Messi next World Cup might be his last. I think he's gonna be 32, right? 34 or 32, I
yeah
don't know.
32 I think so. But yeah, I think this
हाँ तो
pretty much would be his
जितना
last next World Cup.
लाइक जितना बल्कि ही 34 या 30 साल का है वो
Oh, okay.
30 साल का तो है भी वो तो या जितना वो लाइक इंजरी प्रोन है तो definitely his last World Cup, so I don't know if he gets to play it or not, but he has to. And kind of like one of those players that will have the same kind of like attention around him like Messi did in his last World Cup. But yeah, for all Messi cares, Messi like अब जिसको जीतना है जीत ले. अब जो है ना शैतान आ जाए ऊपर से और वो जीत जाए वर्ल्ड कप, आई डोंट गिव अ फक. आई वन इट, थैंक यू वेरी मच. मैं जा रहा
Yeah, वो वो but I think I'm also excited to see मतलब World Cup खत्म हुआ है. I'm seeing how relaxed Messi is gonna be uh, in the Champions League games now, and it takes
हूँ.
PSG to that
We
glory
have
as
a
well.
full season. That's the exhausting part, right? कि इतने अच्छे वर्ल्ड कप के बाद you have a full season wearing like नाइफ एज पे अभी वो भी पड़ा हुआ है. चैंपियंस लीग पर खुली पड़ी हुई है अभी. लीग्स ओपन है अभी तक. It's just like all cup competitions are open. So there's so much still left for
Right.
this whole season. This is probably going to be one of the best seasons in footballing history, I think.
Yeah, I think at the same time it's congested, right? I mean, we just thought like
Congested,
World
huh?
Cup आ
But
गया.
it's kind of worth it.
Yeah,
It's kind of
it's
worth it, honestly. I had my doubts about, and let's talk about that. Let's talk about the World Cup generally. I had my doubts about the Winter World Cup when this was first happening. Um,
right.
and then also was kind of concerned, not doubts, but I was kind of like interested in seeing how Qatar will host this in terms of like a one city, three or four location, three, four stadiums or six stadiums, I think, whatever they have. But it's a one location World Cup where it's not like a lot of flying around from one city to the
Mhm.
other. They're not like base camps in different locations of different teams where they play and then they meet up in another location where they play the knockout games, blah blah. It was all everything happening in one location, right? So that was I was interested in, but I think it's just been so flawless from on the pitch organization perspective. They've been full games. They've been like uh, uh, crowd has been full every time. The fan zones. My brother actually right now in Doha. He went there for the
Oh, nice.
semi-final, final. Arif, yeah, the one that you met here. Um, so he went there. He obviously couldn't get the tickets to the game, but he was outside, watching the game with the fans and everyone. It's ridiculous. It's just unbelievable. Like it's loud. Uh, it's like a whole fanfare happening. And it's also very easy. I think from a fan's perspective, what I read, the fans appreciate that they didn't have to fly around every other day to watch their team play in another game somewhere else in another stadium. It was all in one location. So bhai, you're staying in, your hotel is booked for throughout the trip. ठीक है? Your flight is booked throughout the trip. You just need to watch the game. Simple as that. Infrastructures looked
Yeah.
really amazing. I mean, I thought this was just especially with the controversies surrounding the World Cup prior to the World Cup beginning, and even when the World Cup was awarded. People say a lot of things about Qatar. The controversies kind of started when, with this whole migrant worker things started to pop up a few years ago. But I think the media generally has been against that World Cup ever since it was awarded. The migrant workers issues kind of like, spurred it on, basically made it more easier for them to kind of like throw this World Cup down the drain. But I think despite all of that, keeping all those controversies aside, I think it was definitely one of the best World Cups that I've watched. Like the excitement of the group stages, the excitement of the teams, the excitement of the atmosphere that was created, it was just amazing. What are your thoughts on the general World Cup and the things surrounding it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely. I think, and just to add to your point, I think along with the media, I think a lot of European are dead during with the entire situation with the migrant workers. I think Germany was protesting it actively. So did I think I I think Denmark, to a point, it was flawless. I think it was an engineering masterstroke to me. The way the
Mm,
stadiums were built, I think keeping in mind like they have temperature. I saw a thing. I think it just on YouTube that I was catching out as to how the stadiums were built, and um,
mm.
while yeah, I mean
They were
people,
built for a summer World Cup,
migrant
by the way.
workers who,
They weren't built for a winter. They weren't built for a winter World Cup.
but yeah, whatever. I think the way it was built, I think, and yeah, matlab, to me, the on PlayStation, and this was like वो बोलते हैं ना कि you remember like when you play FIFA, you pretty much go to like for the best gaming experience. यार हमको होता है ना to make sure we get the best visual
Mm.
experience. I think for me, every pitch was flawless. I mean,
Oh yeah.
there was no patch on the field where you feel that, oh,
Uh,
this is, but yeah, I mean, they spent a
like
fortune, I'm
South Africa,
sure.
I remember. I know, yeah, they spent like billions and billions of dollars, and I think uska return bhi उनको मिलना शुरू होगा when people went there and they saw, the infrastructure in place, and they've just recently won I think some of the Olympic games as well now. So obviously they've like put on a show that looked really good organizationally, and they've managed to pull off a miracle, and I feel like um,
Right.
uh, generally also I think about the controversies with the World Cup. A lot of them were about the cultural aspect of the place of the country, and what I really liked about that was it's very easy sometimes, in order to be inclusive, in order to be like, in order like for investments and everything, you kind of like let go of your own principles, whatever principles you have, right? Obviously, if they're not injuring or harming another person, but it's okay to have some sort of convictions that you hold dear. So what I really found interesting and really good about this whole organizationally was how intrinsic how important the values of their own cultures were like embedded into the World Cup. Like, did you see Messi when he before he lifted, they kind of like have him wear one of those Arabic garbs? So I mean, it's
Right.
good, it's wherever you go, you get a lot of like cultural tastes, in different countries. Why not them? They can also have a cultural, expose it, like basically expose their culture to the world and let them experience it and at least respect it. Okay, okay, this is how they live. This is how they have their values, and their value systems are different from ours. But this is the true diversity of the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, I think we see that, to be honest, if you see uh, or observe that in different sports, it's pretty evident there too, right? Formula
Mm,
One, and वहाँ पे भी ऐसा होता है कि you have races worldwide, right? There's a Turkish Grand Prix,
right. Mm-hmm.
there's a Grand Prix in Australia, there's one in the
Mm-hmm.
US, and everywhere it's like you can't go there and expect the same thing that you see in your country, right? Like
Yep,
it's
you
for a
can't.
reason. It's for a reason. It's that way. I mean,
Mm,
and I think, I mean, the other reason why this World Cup was also a hit is you made a good point, was people didn't have to take flights, they didn't have to travel the great distance to तुमको like the biggest stadiums were, I think there was a stadium which was far off, but it was still like an hour
हाँ
or a 2 hour drive.
in the city,
But
right? You drive करके चले जाओ, हाँ.
that's still these things are important. I mean, yeah, I'm seeing how, now that you've made this point, I'm seeing how the World Cup in the US is going to be like, where we have to catch a
Oh
game.
yeah, we have to catch a flight. A flight as is इतनी worse है यहाँ पर. Flight system यहाँ पर
Yeah.
as is इतना pathetic है. पता नहीं World Cup में क्या हाल होगा when they
Tickets,
have like hosting so many people.
yeah, the tickets के time पे तो yeah, and then where यहाँ
सोचो
पे
हमारा कोई work trip आ जाए during the World Cup. तो
yeah,
हम तो
that's a different situation,
कहीं
right?
जा ही नहीं सकेंगे. We
तो
have to
फिर
plan
हमको
for that too.
podcast Zoom पे करना पड़ेगा. So, yeah, this World Cup was pretty good, I think, and I have heard quite a good things about how they managed the things. I think there was a situation where they didn't have place to, like, they also called out some cruise liners, right? The cruise liners which were parked at the bay, and they converted those into hotel rooms. So
Right.
even not have the infrastructure, I mean, they did their best, but there were pieces that were still left out in that puzzle, and they did their best
Obviously.
to make sure the standards were met. I'm sure you can see that were built to have these games aired. Those were also very well managed. I think there were no scuffs, no मारामारी ऐसे, या मतलब हमारे कंट्रीज में कैसा होता है, मतलब भाई, and the flavor of every
Like
tournament that I've seen.
riots शुरू हो जाते हैं, पता नहीं क्या होता.
Correct, and that's where I was also talking to a few friends of mine, and you are also, well, we both follow club football extent at that level, जहाँ पे तुम लोग अभी you started like I also sent you a picture of Messi and then Ronaldo crying in a GIF, but it was it's not that I am not saying that Ronaldo is not a great player. It's seeing such tweets where like Messi is the GOAT and this is the end of discussion. तुम ऐसे, like, a few days back I was just seeing some people tear off pictures of Ronaldo's that he played bad, and I'm like, ठीक है यार, मतलब it's a World Cup, playing games, and
नहीं वो बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग होता है, like वो that I agree with you कि with especially with the Ronaldo Messi debate, and we'll move towards conclusion on this topic. Okay, with the Ronaldo Messi debate, the biggest thing that frustrated me honestly was the fact that people kind of like such a binary way of looking at it. Okay, even if you're a Ronaldo fan, they almost like, instead of like praising and touting Ronaldo, they were always trying to bring down Messi to a point where they didn't consider. It seemed like they didn't consider him a good player. It like they didn't even consider him a decent player. So I was like, okay, sure, you can have a favorite player like Ronaldo, and you can say, कि हाँ, like Ronaldo is the greatest of all time, but you can't say that Messi is not a good player. क्योंकि वो डिबेट उस तरफ चली जाती थी. That's what I felt. कि people were kind of like, and vice versa as well. कि people who were saying that Messi is the greatest player of all time, they would start like criticizing, crapping, and shitting on Ronaldo as if he's not a good player. So I always thought it's a debate about who's the greatest of all time. That's a different level. It's not like like उनकी अपनी लीग चल रही है. उनके उस लीग में कोई नहीं है. अभी तक एम्बापे भी नहीं है, to be honest, in that league yet. तो तो उनकी अपनी लीग चल रही है. आपस में दो जो भी उनका नंबर 1 नंबर 2 बनेगा, it doesn't mean that the other person who's number 2 is not a great player or is not like a legendary player who's once in a lifetime generational talent. That is still the case. It's just, someone has to be number 1, someone has to be number 2, and it could be either one of them. But honestly, for me, अब तो like खत्म हो जाएगा, सब कुछ खत्म हो चुका है.
वो तो है, right? Like, even so, if I have to pick one of those I mean, they are definitely the GOAT, like greatest of all time
Mhm.
players. But even I always like Messi. Your own set of reasons why you like Messi. I have my own set of reasons. Bale,
Yeah,
we saw, we have seen the bad side of Messi too, right? He's a bad loser too,
right.
and all these
Yeah,
legends, all these great players are bad.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Like, I
um,
mean, we granted that my distance from Ronaldo has a lot to do with the fact that he was a United player. So, I mean, my judgments might be clouded by that, but I'm happy to admit it. But still, even if I wasn't like a Liverpool fan, and Ronaldo didn't play for United, I would still kind of edge towards Messi because that's the type of player I enjoy watching more because he has a lot of
right,
those, beautiful passes. And like it's more than just goal scoring. It's about beauty of it as well. Okay, even in this age, he was like, that assist in the semi-finals, unbelievable turnaround to Alvarez को जो उसने third goal पड़वाया था.
correct. But
And
yeah,
then even in this game, like some of the passes that he was making, I was like, so beautiful. And thought, like the first pass in the semi-final, just the pass kiya tha for, I think DePaul scored or who scored
no, I think
the first goal against Argentina.
Alvarez ही score किया था,
नहीं नहीं पहला गोल
Croatia
अल्वारेज ने
Argentina.
दूसरा किया था. हाँ कोर्शा वाला जिसमें मेसी ने जो असिस्ट
Oh,
किया था.
I don't
अह,
recall again. If we are
um,
talking
खैर anyway,
Messi,
but the point was कि
oh,
हाँ कि point was
yeah,
कि वो basically he's more than just a goal scorer. That's personally for me, I enjoy that more.
and that's the same opinion why I chose Messi too, right? It's like it's again the player profile. It's like, for me, he's more of a complete player, a craftsman. जो मतलब he
Mm,
can and thinks about the team. I mean, how many times for me, like again, like to me, the defining point was okay, how many times Messi wants to take it away. Like I've seen him
yeah,
do that like a million times. Where when in PSG, when Mbappe had the tough time, like with all the transfer situation going around with him with PSG, and then having the scuff with Neymar, have
yeah,
Messi like change the game for him. Was on a hard. To for me, what makes him great is again like there was a time when he was on a hat trick, and then he passes the he gives the penalty to
yeah.
Suarez to take it. He gives it away to Neymar.
और नेमार
So
take
these
yeah.
these how आप जब player आपका choose करते हो like one of your favorite
Mm,
players that you want to win the World Cup, yeah, you see him go the distance is basically you see him as आप देखते हो कि क्या traits है उसमें, how he performing, and
that's
Messi
true.
ticked all the boxes to me. Gerard did as well for me. इसलिए
Yeah.
there was always a debate. Gerard, because I support Liverpool, it was Gerard. It was always Gerard because
Uh,
he had that attitude in him. He had the sense in him to to lead the pack. I mean, the slip, मतलब कोई टाल नहीं सकता
mm,
उसको. आज मेसी भी, I mean, what if Mbappe would have scored a fourth goal? We could have not
right.
changed it, but that would have
और
not
मेसी मिस द
taken
पेनल्टी
away a
क्योंकि
thing.
मेरी प्रोड्यूस हो गई थी. आई वाज लाइक कि मेसी ने पेनल्टी मिस कर दी ना तो लाइक
Yeah,
the memes are gonna come in.
correct. But that would change. That would not change our opinion that Messi was never a great. He was always that
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
say where we have a stamp on our choice and the plastics don't. I mean, I just that's where I hate them the most.
Hmm. Yeah,
Was
exactly.
yeah,
हाँ वो बिल्कुल
but
ठीक है. Like there's more to just the numbers, more to just the trophies. It's just like these small things that you see that you're on a hat trick, you pass the ball to someone else to take the penalty, where you're the official penalty taker. It's not like that other person is the official penalty. You are the official penalty, so it's your call. So you kind of like take it up. Like even if you take the penalty, no one's gonna call you selfish because you're like, हाँ यही लेता है penalty तो ये लेगा.
yeah,
So for them to go out of their way to do those things, and then yeah, people to talk about like okay वो अपने comfort zone से निकला and all of that. that means nothing. Comfort zone, ये सब चीजें बनाई दिमाग की बनाई हुई चीजें. Every season is a different season. Every year is a different year.
Yeah.
There's no requirement for players to go out and play in different leagues for them to be considered great players. ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता. At the end of the day, it's about scoring goals. It's about winning football matches. ठीक है? If you win it in your quote unquote comfort zones, or if you win it in other countries, the same thing. Um, but yeah, I think this kind of अब debate जो अब होनी चाहिए कि is Messi the greatest of all time in a sportsman's category, like above Roger Federer, above Nadal, above Tiger Woods, above Michael Jordan. He's in that league now, I think. या उसकी उस breath में अब बात कर सकते हैं हम कि is he the greatest sportsman
all
of all
time.
time, not just a footballer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he went up there with along with the ranks of Federer, Nadal, who have been like consistent, right, year in year out, आप perform करते हो, and he's done that. I think with Messi, and even national level, he has been exceptional for Argentina. I think
Yeah.
there was always bad things about him, and they are always about all the players, right? मतलब, like
Right.
whatever it is, I mean, things will keep brewing. ऐसा मुझे हमेशा लगता है.
अबे
And
at the end of the day मुझे कोई रिश्ता थोड़ी भिजवाना है उसके घर पे जो I need like an angel.
that's what I mean.
तो जैसा भी हो हाँ
Yeah.
मैं तो प्लेयर की बात कर रहा हूँ. Player is a good player and has traits that I really enjoy or relate to more than the others. So it's just preference for me at this point. But at the same time, khair, let's conclude this. What are your parting words? What are your final words? First of all, appreciate you coming on first time in such a short notice. I know it wasn't planned, but this was such a emotional high for me. I was like, I need to record this now, and it'll be great if I have someone else also joining in. But final thoughts.
Just if you're just talking about World Cup, I think overall the World Cup was this was a home run. I think I mean it was a win
Yeah.
for Qatar. No infrastructure at all, so had to build right from the build up, like right from the
Yeah.
foundational pieces. They
Ground up. Huh?
had to put everything in place. So good stuff. From I would say like have always been good. Let's say मतलब Infantino has been good in his tenure. I would say like people will, so let's give it to him. But overall,
Yeah.
yeah, good. It has been a good tournament for me. I again came in as a neutral. Wanted Messi to win. I was expecting my bucket full of surprises, which I did get,
Yeah.
and all the action that I got. Also, on a closing note from my end, I'm also happy that injured, so they are coming back stronger to the
Yeah.
Liverpool squad. So
That's
I'm
important. That's very
excited
important.
for the second. Yeah, pretty much excited for the second
When's
half of the season now.
When's the second half starting, by the way? Our next
So I
game
think
official.
I don't know about other games. For Liverpool, we play Man City on 22nd of December. So
Oh boy. So it's just like one after the other, essentially. Like
yeah,
कोई हमें बीच में rest
it's
नहीं है. Like
बस कुछ टेस्ट नहीं है. We start playing from Thursday. सीधा सिटी के साथ गेम है. तो
सीटी के साथ like वो होता है ना कि वो बैंडेड ripping off the bandit कि बस अब जो भी है हारना है जो भी है अभी अभी हार जाओ. अच्छा है. बजाय ऐसे कि हम अप्रैल में जाके हारें.
yeah, but I think this is a cup competition, so it should be good. I think we are the champions, so we are
Yeah.
we should be able to hold our fort. देखते क्या करते हैं हम लोग, but
Hopefully, fingers
yeah.
crossed. Fingers crossed.
Thoughts from you?
Needless to say, I won't be in the office on that day. I'll be close to home base. But anyway, thank you, man. Really appreciate it. What I'll say at the end is just that we pretty much like capped it off. It was just an amazing World Cup. The emotions around it were kind of like overwhelming for me to really look at the qualitative aspects of the games, to be honest. But There was a lot of quality, and I was just watching few of the best goals in the World Cup as well. By the way, before the recording, and some of these goals, like Richarlison's ka jo tha, ek do goals uske, they were like brilliant. The winner that Saudi Arabia scored against um, Argentina was unbelievable. I thought that was one of my personal favorite goals. And then I think the first goal Di Maria scored, I think because of the passing and movement, that was really good. The final ka jo goal tha bhi. Um, and then
Oh
also
yeah.
Mbappe's volley, I think that was also a very good volley. Though, qualitatively, it's been, you can debate and you can go, all night long talking about how good that was. But I think bigger picture wise, a win for the region, I think, gives an opportunity for someone like India, for example, which who has a lot of money, who has the capability and and has the market as well to really attract football, perhaps down the line in that region. That would be a huge thing, and they could use the example that Qatar has set up for this region. के जब वहाँ हो सकता है तो इंडिया में क्यों नहीं हो सकता? You know what I mean? So,
Right.
I think that has really, I think generally it's a huge win for the culture aspect of Middle East, huge win for and the biggest win of them all for for Leo Messi. Okay, I don't know if I was I don't know how I show up to PSG for training. I don't know how and why I show up. Like what is prompting you to take that, like you get an email, for example, a week like दिन बाद, you get an email from your boss saying, okay, please report to training at 9 a.m. sharp on on Monday, please. Like, wouldn't you be giving a giant middle finger to that email already? Like, are you kidding me? Seriously? I have no motivation to move.
Yeah.
I've done it all.
But yeah, we
So, but I'm sure he's a champion player. He'll show up and go
yeah,
right
I
into
think so
Champions
too. I
League and
mean,
stuff.
we still don't know if he goes ahead and caps off caps off the year by taking the Ballon d'Or.
Winning the
I mean,
Champions
who
League.
knows?
Oh yeah, who knows? Who
Yeah,
knows what's gonna happen? We still don't know where Ronaldo's gonna play. By the way, that's another thing.
yeah,
But we should do another let's do another episode on the when the transfer window is about to start. Let's talk towards the end of the year. Okay, what are we expecting from the transfer window? I know there's been
yeah,
a lot of talks about Enzo and obviously Jude in the news, and there's other players as well, names getting thrown around left, right, and center, as what happens, with the World Cup every now and then. But yeah, we'll do a discussion around, deeper discussion on Liverpool. Just I think that's something that we both will definitely
yeah.
enjoy. But yeah, appreciate
Perfect.
your time, dude. Really, really appreciate it. Thanks for
Hey,
coming on.
anytime. Yeah, and what we're seeing each other tomorrow, right?
Yeah, we're seeing each other tomorrow for the daily.
Yes, absolutely. All right, man.
All right,
It was fun
all right,
fun
buddy.
talking to you. Yep.
All
All
right.
right,
Thanks,
bye.
thanks. Same here, same here. All right, bye. All right. So that was Ishaan. He's a work colleague of mine and a friend now, a Liverpool fan. It's been a longest. I thought this was going to be like a short and sweet episode, but this was just us recapping the gloriousness of the World Cup. So how and why would we keep it, to a short, sweet 30-minute slot? If you've gotten so far to the podcast, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, follow us on Spotify, Apple, um, Amazon, Google Podcast, wherever you're listening. And we're also hit us up on Instagram at the Drawing Room Experts. Um, you know, uh, we'll be back with another one, I guess. Thanks. Cheers. Bye.